I've never on the main pod said about leaving, right, to go to Portugal. I don't feel like we've talked about it on the main pod, although it's not like
not really, no.
News, really. Obviously, it depends at what point do we allude to it or not, or do we wait till the end of the season?
He's kind of just been like mentioned in passing most weeks, and no one said anything yet.
We've only got 7 games. We could just tear the plaster off now.
That's entirely up to you, boss.
I don't mind talking about it because my residency has been confirmed now.
So it's 100.
Yeah, they won't. They for the next 2 years, I'm allowed to live in Portugal. As long as I spend 8 months a year for the next 2 years, then I can spend another 3 years in Portugal.
Can I move to Portugal as well?
Come, let's go. I'll go off. I have to pay you less there because average salaries are 25% less.
Yeah, I don't mind if you fuck off, but I don't really want a different. I don't really want a different editor.
Right. Oh, we roll it. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
Halfway through Gameweek 34.
Just tell everyone it was shit.
I am so lost with weeks. I've been away from England for 3 weeks. And also kind of in and out of football as well with all of it. So I'm kind of lost in the game week. I knew it's game week 34. We've free-hitted.
Suj knows what game week number it was.
Yes. It feels very, very strange to be back after 3 weeks away.
I feel like I haven't seen you in a long time.
Even driving, like I was driving yesterday and I was like, I was in Portugal for 3 weeks with a hire car. We did 2,500 kilometers in that 3 weeks. So a heck of a lot of driving. I had to drive Lisbon and back, Nico, from the Algarve twice, missions. I prefer driving on the other side of the road. It was weird stuff like I was driving yesterday. I was like, I think I like driving on the other side of the road, more than I like
That's quite bizarre when you would have done how many years on
this side of the road?
The right side.
Bonkers.
Or sorry, the left side.
So back here and let's get into it because people want to listen to FPL stuff.
Well, are you ever going to tear this plaster off about why you've been in Portugal for 3 weeks?
I went to Portugal for 3 weeks this time round to ask Nico's government very politely and kindly to...
Hold up. Maybe Nico might not want to be associated with that government. Okay. We shouldn't presume.
Government that issued his passport.
Because I don't want to be associated with any government in this country.
Well, this is part of the reason. Because we decided a little while ago, my wife and the kids didn't have much choice, that we were going to apply for
I love it. The kids went, Daddy, please.
Residency in Portugal, because we decided that it would be the right move for the family and the lifestyle change. And it's been the best part of 6 months of application process. We basically got granted residency to go and live in Portugal 2.5 weeks ago. Bom dia, tudo bem? Tudo bem. Frango, piri-piri e Imperial Superboc, por favor. See? I'm basically Portuguese
most
now.
Most of the listeners...
I'm basically Portuguese now.
Most of the listeners and viewers will only know one Portuguese word.
Su.
So
we decided that we were going to do it end of the school year and move, and then from September kids will start school in Portugal. We'll go and live there, and in 9 weeks, James, I will have left the UK for good.
Shit!
I can't believe it's only 9 weeks away. But yeah, we were there for 3 weeks because we had to go and sort out immigration. So yeah, I'm going to be moving to Portugal,
and that's the end of Planet FPL.
No, it's not.
No, of course it's not.
It's going to be the Zoom things.
The Zoom studio.
Zoom
Planet
things
FPL
will be used a little bit more than we will need to. Obviously, it's a 3-hour flight away.
You not come back every Monday, you lazy twat.
It's a 3-hour flight away. So my actual intention is for you to come over and we just do all the recordings in Portugal, as opposed to bring Harry. Bring Kate, yeah.
God, just bring Harry.
Nico fly over. We'll just set up a studio there and we'll do all the recording there. But then when I need to get my dose of cold weather, we'll come back. So yeah, 3 weeks in Portugal, mainly to get residency and find somewhere to live.
Congrats.
Did the first, didn't do the second. That's a problem for another day. But with all of that going on, it was a bit hectic to actually really double down and focus on FPL. Like I should be on Wildcard right now. I haven't hit the button yet or tinkered around. I'm assuming you have.
Obviously.
I'm sure I've lost a bit of value in a few players.
Although I don't think the value is going to matter on this wild card. I really don't. Even for bench boosters, I don't think it's going to matter much.
Yeah. So that's why I let it slide. And I thought, let me sit down and actually plan what my 37 bench boost looks like and then reverse engineer my wildcard backwards from that, which I haven't done yet. So, yeah, it was a bit hectic. And then on top of that, yesterday, I had to go to a wedding in Leicester. A close friend of mine decided 3 weeks ago that he was getting married. Decided 3 days ago that he wanted me to be best man at his wedding.
What kind of fucking mates do you have, mate?
So we landed yesterday, and then 8 a.m. in the morning on the Sunday after we'd landed from 3 weeks away, straight up to Leicester, got back at 7 p.m. yesterday. Blissfully missed West Ham and so on. So it's been non-stop, but in between that, football has been ticking along. I managed to watch all the West Ham games bar Palace yesterday while I was away. For better and mostly for worse, to be fair. Managed to play my free hit, as did you.
I'm pleased.
On Friday.
I'm pleased that you at least played it.
I got it done.
Although looking at the score, maybe...
Well, listen, you know better than anybody, and all the listeners should do as well.
It ain't finished yet.
Do not get yourselves gassed up about anything yet, because so much can change in 4 days. And how often does it, where you think you're having a bad game week, and by the end of it, Salah pulls it out and suddenly it's a great game week, or vice versa.
Yeah, but yours looks like it could get worse.
Yeah, but it also could get better, right? It also could get better. Because I made a couple of choices that were different. But also remember, I was at 1 million, right? Rank.
Yeah, I know,
So
I get it.
I was ready to gamble.
Not go with the differentials from Crystal Palace.
Well, this is it. So let's get into our teams. We'll start with my free hit, because I didn't post it on the internet. I don't really use Twitter anymore. This was my free hit. So I went with Neto and Pickford as my two keepers. I went with Neto and benched Pickford. So as it stands, obviously Pickford's got the clean sheet, but still one more fixture for Neto to go. As did everybody, I do feel like this free hit, if you were free hitting, you were going to get 3 Arsenal. You were going to get 3 Liverpool. You were going to get Solanke. So that's 7 of your squad already. So you're only making 4 or 5 choices in the end anyway. Unlike you, I went double defensive with Arsenal and then Saka. You went with Odegaard, Saka and 1 defender, right?
Yep.
And I went single defensive with Liverpool in Virgil and Salah and Diaz as my attacking assets from Liverpool. Saliba, Gabriel were my 2 defenders from Arsenal. Neto in goal. Solanke up front. I picked Sarabia. We'll come back to that in a second. And I then decided that I didn't want to have Palace other than Munoz on my bench, and went with single game week players, because how many times have we played this where we get sucked into the doubles and ignore single game week players that have a good fixture, and then they outscore the players that are playing a double. So I looked at Ollie Watkins, I thought was in good form, and he's returned a 9-pointer, which is
good form. He's like the highest scoring forward by about 36 points.
Returns. No, 36 attacking returns. I think it's 19 goals, 17 assists this season so far.
Yeah, but Haaland's on 174 points. Watkins is on 217, so that's 43.
Yeah.
43 points clear as the highest scoring forward.
It was a home
in the game.
fixture against Bournemouth. I thought they'd do well. And look, he has got 9 points, which is decent. So I'm happy with that.
I definitely don't mind the Watkins pick. I wasn't a million miles away from that.
And Isak, I think Newcastle are going to do Palace over. And I thought Isak is also in great form. He's a good footballer. And I felt like I wanted to go with Isak because I think he has the potential to go big on Thursday as well. But allied with that, with the Watkins-Isak pick, the other pick I went with was Sarabia at Wolves, which was a real surprise where he didn't play because they had no bodies. And part of the reason for going Sarabia was that no one else was fit. He's going to play for me. But even you predicted him to start.
I must have, yeah.
You did, because I listened to the team news stream.
Yes, you're right.
You picked Sarabia to start. And I've seen him play against us. He's decent. I thought, look, he's the one who's going to be the attacking output. And where we look at... Whenever you
have anyone else to supply him would have been my thought process.
Well, true.
It's very rare I do the differential show on a Friday and change my prediction. I went from 2-1 Arsenal in the morning to 3-0.
Yeah. But I looked at it and I'm like, it's 2 home fixtures. And how often have we looked at a team and said they're down and out and they pull something out of the bag? Could Wolves pull a goal or 2 out of the bag? Maybe not against Arsenal, possibly against Bournemouth at home. Yes.
Yeah, the
Who's
Arsenal game's
most
the
likely?
bonus.
Sarabia. Let's do it. So I thought, you know what? If I'm gambling on a few differentials, he would be the one. Now, you look at it two ways. He was rested at the weekend, and so he would definitely start against Bournemouth, or didn't get into the team for some reason. But I really did think Sarabia
He'll start on Wednesday.
So that could, again, change. What that meant, though, with the two single game week players, Watkins, Isak and Sarabia, was that I was bypassing Crystal Palace. And you and Clayton had to sit here and fess up last week after you'd got battered by Newcastle and Arsenal had lost against Villa. So this is my week to sit here after my team has...
but the only reason I'm not fessing up is because we didn't play.
Yeah, exactly. And also screwed up my FPL weekend was obviously because Palace went big and I completely ignored Palace. And the reason I ignored Palace on my free hit was a few different reasons. Firstly, the second fixture against Newcastle. Newcastle are in a decent run of form, and I don't think Palace are going to win against Newcastle. So then I looked at it and I was like, okay, this is a Crystal Palace side that have never finished in the top half of the league. Right?
And they won't this year.
And how often have they ever scored more than 2 goals? Rarely do they score more than 2 goals. Having said that, they've had an XG higher than 2 in the last couple of weeks a couple of times, but they rarely score more than 2 goals. Rarely.
Can I just jump in and say you reminded me of my favourite stat from the weekend, watching Match of the Day 2 last night, where the commentators said Palace have never failed to win a Premier League game when they've been winning 4-0. Favourite stat of the weekend, which, by the way, for those who are aware, and I'm sure many of you are, there's only one team that's been winning the Premier League game 4-0 and failed to win, which was Arsenal, obviously, the Newcastle from 2011.
And West Ham, we've been a bit Jekyll and Hyde, but we'd played really well on Thursday against Liverpool, at least for the first 55, 60 minutes before gas tanks started running out a little bit. And defensively, we were set up well, and we've had situations where we've had to play after a European, and we've been okay. I really didn't see what was going to happen yesterday happening. If you predicted a 2-1 to Palace, and I think 2-1 would have possibly been all right. But for them to go off big and win 5-2 was unexpected.
I definitely thought they'd beat you. Purely as well, I watched the second half of your game Thursday night.
They were dead.
Yeah, they were out.
I suppose my biggest mistake was thinking that the players would recover by Sunday. And obviously, being at the wedding yesterday, I didn't actually get to watch the game. Great timing, thank you. But it was what it was. I snuck over, my kids had my phone, and notifications, swipe down, I saw 3-0, swipe back up and just put my phone away. I didn't even bother checking afterwards because it was, 25, 30 minutes in that we were already 3-0 down.
Moyes was losing his shit.
Yeah, but why is it? He's playing a back three with Alvarez in the middle at the back there and stuff. It's just stupid nonsense from what I've heard. From what I've heard. Like, I'm going off fan cams and what fan reaction is.
I genuinely didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've only watched the highlights.
A lot of people have said Alvarez was in there as a back three because I feel like he had to play at Bonner as centre-back because he had to come on Thursday, right, when Agerd got injured. And to give Bonner that little bit more cover, maybe he was dropping Alvarez into more of a central. But this is not me.
You've got me really questioning
this
that.
Is not me watching the game. This is more from other people's noise that they were making about it. And so I decided to go without Palace because they're playing a very good Newcastle side. They don't score a ton of goals, and it completely went off. And it was definitely a clear indication that Moyes is not going to be with us after the end of this season. Absolutely no way that he can stay. So I'm on 42 points as it stands at the moment. 8 from Saliba, 6 from Gabriel. I captained Saka over Salah again to be that little bit more differential because I thought Wolves would do okay.
Especially don't hate it.
Yeah.
I captained Salah, and even I didn't think he'd start twice.
No. So it could, like, if Isak goes off, please get me a hat-trick Isak. It could turn around and still pick up. If Saka goes off over Salah, it could still turn around a little bit. And I've still got 10 fixtures to go, whereas you've got 11 fixtures to go. So 42 points is not good. There's plenty of bigger scores around, particularly when you're playing a chip. It is a green arrow as it stands. It will stay a green arrow. But as far as free hitters go, it's on the lowest end of free hit scores.
For you?
For me,
yeah.
Yeah,
it is, unfortunately.
But, when you're at 1 million, like I was listening to Adam on Above Average, and he's obviously in a similar boat to me, where he's had a torrid, difficult season where it's been hard to make ground and what have you, and he's not free hitting, from my understanding from the conversation I was listening to yesterday, but it is really pretty tricky. But you got to just gamble it and enjoy the last 4 or 5 weeks now, where I'm going to just be a little bit more rogue, because I'd rather finish 2 million and had a bit of fun than struggle and maybe get from 1 million to 800k. Whoopie-doo.
It's worth saying that the free hit advantage of this game week is basically gone. What I mean by that is, other than basically Watkins, all the single game week players that people own are still to play. Your Palmers, your Haalands, your Isaks, your Gordons, your Garnachos, a couple of Fernandezes maybe. All of those guys, which might have been the single game week players carried through, haven't played yet, other than basically Watkins. So the midweek fixtures feels more like, okay, that's happened. Now it's a normal game week, and it might shift back the other way now, right?
Yeah, I would say so. How's your free hit, sir?
Right.
Because you did.
But
go with the Palace.
With frustrations as well, I have to say. 59 points I'm on. So I went the treble Palace of Munoz, Eze and Mateta. Treble Liverpool of Van Dijk, Salah and Diaz. Treble Arsenal, Gabriel, Saka, Odegaard. Solanke, obviously, as you'd said earlier. And I went Neto as well. And the reason I went Neto over Pickford was just purely I went for the all-in strategy of having no players playing against each other, which is quite a unique circumstance to be in, that you can do that and have quite a good team on a double game week. So it seemed to be the main feedback. Why do you prefer Neto over Pickford? It was like, I don't, basically. I've just gone for the all-in strategy. I can see my treble Everton defensive sitting on my bench staring at me, with no real regrets, by the way. It was more like, well, if a game accidentally got postponed here for whatever reason, I'll have treble Everton defence as an insurance here. That was my take. But the frustration lies from Matthias Cunha was a definite for me. And that was one that I was happy to go against the all-in. And I one of the things I kept saying was, well, if I go Neto, then that's basically because I decided not to go with Cunha. That was the original thinking. So I went through the team on the Patreon pod we did Friday morning and was pretty happy. Thought about it Thursday night. You know me, once I make my decision, it's only if team news, something else different happens is the only reason I'm going to change, basically. So Gary O'Neill drops several grenades in Wolves' press conference to the extent it went from, whoa, this could be a challenge to Arsenal, to thinking they'll stroll through this, which basically they did. So Cunha obviously had to come out. Now from there, I needed obviously an extra attacking player, but it led to me making several different changes, because one of the ones I'd had on Friday morning was Trent in. I was going to go double Liverpool defence, and I would have had Dean Henderson in goal instead, rather than just going go Neto in goal and just go Olise instead of Luis Diaz. I decided no, I'd come to the conclusion that I wanted to go for Luis Diaz instead, because I didn't want to go treble Palace attack, and I credit all those that did. Really well done, because I decided that I didn't want to. Plus, ultimately as well, Jurgen Klopp did spook me a little bit himself with these comments that it was insane that Trent had played the previous evening in Italy against Atalanta. And I was thinking, if it's that insane.
Why is he saying it's insane? What's insane about it?
Well, I don't know. It can't have been that insane, because he picked him and then he picked him again.
Injected or?
Well, I just think in terms of his recovery from the injury or whatever. Anyway, that was the literal word he said, was it was insane. I think Trent ain't playing twice in this double. But possibly what I should have looked at, and one of the things I've said this loads about Olise, was real concern about Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, considering he's had prolonged issues of injuries this year. But actually, in reflection, there was never a doubt that he would start against your team yesterday. And that was the money maker, not worrying, would he get the second game against Newcastle? And from Trent's perspective, whether he played Fulham or Everton didn't make a huge difference in my mind. Actually, probably would have preferred he played the Everton game rather than the Fulham game. And in hindsight, I wish I'd just looked at that with Cunha out and gone, nah, the extra attacker you want is Michael Olise, and then just gone Neto in goal rather than Henderson. So you can say, well, I didn't get Dean Henderson's magical own goal, which I'm going to guess you just, based on what you said, you haven't even seen it. No. It's great. That properly rivals Murich's cock up from last week, mate.
No, when I don't get to see the game and we lose badly, like even Fulham and stuff ages ago, because I missed that. I think that was the day of the juice tournament, when we lost to Fulham 4-0 or whatever. So I didn't get to watch
5. Just
5-0.
hashtag.
I don't bother watching the highlights. There's nothing to learn from it other than causing yourself pain. So no.
Well, you missed out on a fantastic own goal.
Okay.
In any case, so there's a little.
That was our goal. So maybe I'll just watch that one.
There's a little tinge of regret in the sense that if I'd gone with obviously Olise, that would have meant that Trent stayed. So I'd be looking now at having an extra 17 points, and then if I'm sitting there on 76 now, I'm feeling like I've absolutely smashed it. So it's still decent at 59. I've had a decent jump from sort of 230k to 157k, which is nice considering the near no-show from Mo Salah as well, who I presume will start now at Everton on Wednesday night. But I was quite consistent in my thinking on real concern about nearly every Liverpool player, and that lineup yesterday didn't particularly shock me.
Well, they won the game in the end.
I've just seen Jurgen Klopp do it too many times historically, where it's not like, well, they're going for the title. If he gets told this player needs a rest, he'll just do it.
Yep. Look, you just got to be comfortable with your decision making. I look back at mine, I'm like, the decisions around Sarabia and the single game week players. Well, Watkins has got me 9 points, and I didn't think Palace would go off. So credit to them for going off, but also my frustration with the Palace West Ham game is much more aimed at Moyes and the team than it is about my FPL team. Like, that's completely secondary. Okay, fine. It's a rare situation where your team and FPL have both been affected by the same result. It is what it is. So we'll talk about that as we get to it. And we've got Tottenham later this week.
That's why I might go no Tottenham on Wildcard.
No chance.
No,
double game week.
No, of course I will.
Absolutely. Should we talk about some of these games?
Not sure that I should, though.
What are we doing for wildcard content? Have we got anything?
Well, we'll do another game review pod Friday as well.
Correct.
So I think in terms of a lot of the guys, Brighton City's Thursday, Chelsea obviously playing tomorrow night. Tottenham don't play at all, but we'll certainly cover. So I think in terms of the actual head for 35, there's things we'll mention here, but I mean, I near enough know what it's going to be, bar probably just a flip of one Tottenham, one Manchester United player subject to Pedro Porro's fitness. Otherwise, I near enough know what it's going to be, I think.
So hit the subscribe and like button, because then you'll get notified when we go live on Friday, and that's when James will share his...
Mine's going to be a little bit different, though, in a sense, because my bench boost was gone, right? I used it in game week 1. So what I want to do is something a little bit different and look at putting together 4 free hit teams. Not to obviously I can't have 4 free hit teams, but just to double check on a few things. Like, one of the things I'm considering is treble Arsenal defence on Wildcard, and obviously benching it all probably this week and in 37, and then having it in 36, 38. Otherwise, it's difficult to see where I'm making the gains elsewhere, because I'm obviously losing against bench boosters in 37. You would think. So where can I make the gains against what they're going to do? That's one of the things I'm considering. But then that just takes one Dominic Solanke moment and one Dwight McNeil moment, respectively, in 36, 38, and then that's a waste of time, isn't it? I don't know if I want to do that. But I'll definitely have something Arsenal defensive on my own wildcard. Cool.
Before we get into the Premier League games, let's just touch very quickly, like on yesterday's FA Cup.
Is this going to be quickly?
VAR has affected results in so many ways before, but from an emotional point of view, like where we've seen some bad VARs and it's affected results and stuff like that, Liverpool goal against you and whatever else, right? Where you're like, it's bad. But for a lower league side to get to the FA Cup final in the final minute of extra time, having come back from 3-0 with 25 minutes to go, to kill that emotion over an inch or two, which might not even be offside because there's no way you can be that accurate, is awful. It's awful. Like, it's destroyed. You talk so much when you talk about going to football games.
I've been
and the
talking
emotion
about
of football,
this for 6 fucking years, man.
Of all the level, that's the peak of. If I describe to you what's the worst scenario,
I lied. 5 years. 5 years.
A lower league club getting to an FA Cup final, having gone through all of this with that comeback in the final 25 minutes against Manchester United, they were still regarded as, the great Manchester
Near enough
United
the biggest club in the world, yeah.
I hate VAR for what they did to Conventry. I hate it. I've lost all respect and anything for them.
Listen, let's be really, really clear. Based on the rules and laws, the decision is correct. I've seen lots of, it goes over his toe on the lines. And the problem is, I spoke about this after the Luis Diaz thing at Tottenham. It's like, your trust in it is now dead. That it's going to cause things like this. We'll go, is it? Well, look, what I do take is they've drawn the lines, they've concluded offside. We have to go with that and we have to accept that. But yeah, as I tweeted, it's a fucking buzzkill. That, unless you hate Coventry, like when that goal went in, I got out the chair. I got out the chair, not quite like it was a Tottenham goal. I stood up out the chair and shouted goal. Because I was watching one of the greatest moments in that competition's history.
Without doubt.
Gutted.
Yeah.
I mean, and the thing is for them, as so many people point out, because they don't have it, their natural instinct is you've won the game in a game. I mean, the game will still get talked about for a long time, and it shouldn't be forgotten. What an effort from Coventry City, by the way. And they deserved it. It's kind of summed up by the embarrassment from Manchester United players after the penalty shootout, that most of them don't go and celebrate, other than that dickhead Anthony. But like Harry Maguire just straight away going and shaking hands and stuff like that. It was quite classy, actually. Because they knew they'd got away with it. Yeah, this is what I've always said about it. Like, and people always say, well, you need accuracy and what's right and what. Shit, man. Honestly, just give me my football back, man. Well, look, give me my moments back.
Talking about semi-automated coming in soon.
That's not going to fix it. It's just going to make it a bit quicker. But it's not going to fix it. It's still going to... That moment is not going to change. Semi-automated, people semi-automated is going to be like 1-2 seconds. It's not. It's just going to be a little bit quicker than what yesterday was.
Yeah. You still have to factor in the point at which the ball is kicked. And
if no one puts a line on the screen there and the goal is given, there ain't a single Manchester United fan this morning complaining.
Agree with you. Yeah.
So what do we ultimately want? But there's no point having this conversation anymore because it's never going to change. It's never going to go back. So we just have to accept this. The game that many of us fell in love with because of those moments is not there anymore. This is why you're better off having a guy scoring a 30-yard worldie, because at least most of the time that's going to stand. Yeah, I spent half the game watching for offsides and know whether as soon as a goal goes in, I'm in my dad's ear, this will get checked. Yeah. What is this?
I feel like
what is this?
At least 50-60% of goals, my first instinct when the ball hits the net is there any reason this is going to get disallowed?
Yeah.
That's the first thing I think when the goal is scored. I'm like, okay, check. Whatever I'm checking. Was there a foul anywhere in the build-up? Was there offside in any possible way? Was there any reason why it could or couldn't or would or wouldn't get given? Yeah.
When it happened, I think most of us on the TV was like, oh, that's close. But you could see Wan-Bissaka had gone back, and I thought from the angle from obviously the halfway line, I thought this will be all right, was my instinct. And then they showed the replay, and I just went, oh no. Because when you first saw the replay and the still naked eye, it did look offside, I think. I just went, oh no. And the wife walked out the room. She went, oh, it's too stressful. I was like, it's nothing really to do. Just poor them. She literally left the room and didn't come back into the living room until the penalties had finished. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, penalties are stressful.
Next week, People's Poll podcast, unless something major happens over the next 7 days, right? The People's Poll podcast next week is going to be like 2 things, because there's a Nottingham Forest spin-off of this, obviously. One is on FA Cup and the scrapping of replays, and the other will be in terms of approving officiating, because these are just 2 massive topics that are not going away. And you guys can vote over it, and we'll talk about it properly next Tuesday. Because I think the thing on officiating, by the way, is actually come up with solutions how to fix it, rather than just keep moaning about it. What's actual solutions to fixing it?
I watched the second half of Villa last Thursday in European, and then I watched our game as well. I mean, You watched the second half of our game against Leverkusen. The ref lost the plot in that second half. He'd been all right in the first half. But I think where the Lille player backed in and the Aston Villa player caused the Lille player to knock over his own goalkeeper, I thought that was a foul.
No, never.
Push you to knock over another player.
He didn't, mate.
He barged him over.
Yeah, he didn't, mate. No, there was nothing wrong with that goal.
I suppose we'll talk about that specific incident, not now, but I think it's the quality of officiating in Europe is no better than the quality in the Premier League, where we talk about is European refereeing better.
I've told you before, when we have games in Europe, I'm petrified of referees. Yeah. So that's for next week. That's the People's Poll podcast. Winner goes public, loser goes on Patreon. That's the end of it. I can tell you already,
officiating is going to win. Let's talk about some of these games from this weekend, because there were some big games and not too many clean sheets to be had either. But kicking off with Luton 1, Brentford 5. Brentford without Ivan Toney.
Can I just say, not many clean sheets about. Where's that the unusual aspect of the results? 34 weeks in.
There have been very few clean sheets this year. I mean,
getting like 2 or 3 per weekend.
But 5 goals from Brentford without Ivan Toney, and it's all a little bit cloak and smoke and mirrors with Ivan Toney, I should say, not cloak and dagger, smoke and mirrors.
I just feel like there's a big suspicion that there's something more at play here.
Like as in, he's leaving in the summer, so let's protect our asset and not let him get injured or something along those lines.
I don't know. There was the benching against Villa. Then he seemed to have the argument on the pitch. You could understand the benching against Villa because they had played United on the Saturday evening, Brighton on the Wednesday, I think, and then Villa on the Saturday. So you could understand that at the end of a heavy week, okay, rotation, it happens, fine, but still an unusual one with him. Then last week he's an unused substitute, doesn't get on the pitch, and admittedly they got themselves in a position where they didn't need to use him or risk him. Then this Saturday, not in the squad at all, despite Thomas Frank said in his press conference on Friday, both he and I, as in himself and and Ivan Toney, were both desperate for him to get back on the pitch. The problem is Brentford now have no desperate need for him. And Brentford have shown, as they did, by the way, at the end of last season, when they had a very good run with some very difficult fixtures. You might remember them beating yourselves, Suj, beat my team. They had some good results at the end of last season when obviously the suspension had been confirmed. Admittedly, they didn't particularly from August to January while Toney was absent. But they've also had a lot of injuries this year. And that, looking at Sade being back fit, comes off the bench and scores. Keane Lewis Potter, I think, has really stepped up the last month or so when he's played. I thought it was particularly outstanding when he played against Manchester United a couple of months ago when Brentford should have won that night. It was only about a month ago, actually. Bumo, we know the talent.
Yep.
Visser also is now on 10 goals for the season, doing really well. Like, you'd look at Brentford and you take Toney out and do you sit there and you suddenly go, oh, Toney will go, they'll go down. No,
they've unbeaten in 5 now. 3 draws and 2 wins. And they've got themselves 10 points clear of Luton. It's done.
Yeah, completely safe. Completely safe.
And
no doubt about it.
The reality is, like, if you're looking at it, obviously you've already hit the wildcard button. You had Mboma and Toney, right? Pre-free hit.
Yes.
And so you've re-inherited
By the way, the team I had would have done absolutely nothing this week. So would be on about 25 points, I think.
Didn't even tally mine. I'm not even going to look at it. But look, the last two wins have take it with Sheffield United and Luton, but then they've got Everton, Fulham, Bournemouth next. So they're doing bits against these teams that are in and around them at the bottom, and they've done well. So anybody holding, so I'm looking at it and on Wildcard, and I've got Mboma there, and he's a decent price. Everton away. I don't feel the massive pressure to wildcard him out. Toney, I would if I owned. I'd bomb him out. But Mboma, I'm not yet sure whether I would lose him on wildcard. Have you kept either, or have you let them both go?
No, it'll go. I mean, there's no way for me to fit in a midfield player that doesn't have a double game week 37. Okay. I don't think. And, well, there'll be people who want to hold on to Salah for those wildcard, and that's the easiest one. I said this week ago, if you sacrifice Mo Salah on your Gameweek 35 wildcard, you will find money is absolutely no problem. Imagine Haaland's ruled out for a while as well. Then do you know what? You can go back to Mo if you want. I don't see it. There's too many midfielders I want. It's like most people on wildcard are in the same situation now going, I don't want any defenders who've got a double. Oh shit, I want about 8 midfielders who've got a double. Someone like Visser would be more likely as a categorised as a forward, as someone I wouldn't necessarily completely rule out, Suj. But I think for me, in my circumstance, I'm looking for players who specifically have good Game Week 36 and Game Week 38 fixtures that are good enough that I would put them in the 11. Now, Fulham at home and Newcastle at home for the offensive guys is not terrible. And for those running through as well, with be a few people have Reguilon, for example, who's returned another assist and could have had more, by the way, actually. I think you'll be quite happy to hold that through. If you have to play him in the remaining games, it's not terrible. Similar, Bumo, fine. There won't be a lot of ownership for Visser. And I think even if people are looking at that value where they're really stuck, so say they want to get off Mateta and are kind of in and around that value, just naturally going to be drawn to someone like João Pedro at similar value just because he's got the bloody double. But I don't mind that. Visser would be the only one I think I wouldn't rule out personally. But they're starting to get players back fit, which is really helpful. So Pinnock was back in at the weekend. I said Sade come off the bench as well. Christian Norgard was an unused substitute. So it's basically back to just the fullbacks being injured. I wouldn't be surprised if they finish the season quite well, but largely we'll overlook.
Luton, look, now there's 5 points between them and Everton, but only 1 point between them and Forest. Now they play Everton in 36. So if Everton beat them in 36, Everton are completely clear of Luton.
I think
it's done anyway. But
sorry for Toffees fans who are constantly in my ear, but I've been very consistent all the way through saying that Everton would be fine.
Yeah, it's true, because they've also got Sheffield United straight after Luton. So you'd think they're going to get points out of that.
Everton only need to win that one game to be safe now.
I feel like Forest still have Burnley and Sheffield United to go, whereas Luton have got some tougher fixtures, really. So the only hope is catching Forest, and even that. If Forest can beat Sheffield United, Burnley...
This is the interesting thing on Forest. So Forest have got 2 home games left, Man City and Chelsea. So that looks tough, but the 2 away games are against the bottom 2. So what we said about Luton, Suj, was that they would be defined by the home games. That is a really, really damaging result.
Big win.
And let's be fair about this, by the way. It's a fair score. It wasn't a close contest.
Give Luton a little bit of slack because of the injuries, right? They're depleted.
Yes, but at the weekend they had Ted and Mengi back. Gabriel Osho, we didn't expect back, played. And Sambi Lokonga, when they really hit that really good patch of form around sort of February, March time, Lokonga and Barkley together were doing really well in midfield. Had Issa Kabore back, who'd been ineligible, who's probably one of the worst players I've ever seen defending the back post, by the way. His awareness is absolutely disgusting. So back through the spine of the team, they had 3 key players back at the weekend, Suj. They got destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, are they rushing these players back as well? Are they at full fitness and what have you? It was a difficult game because Brentford are difficult at the best of times. But
their last 4 fixtures are good. So you even look at like Wolves away and West Ham away, which have been 2 sides that have been difficult to go and get results against this season. But Wolves will be coming off the back of a busy week and have got their own injury issues. West Ham, if they don't do something in the next couple, are possibly going to end up in a position where the game will be an irrelevance for them when it comes round. Everton, if they get good results this week, actually, against Liverpool and Brentford, which they may struggle to do so in fairness, would probably be safe even themselves by the time they go to Luton. And then Fulham at home is kind of a nice fixture you would ask. If you said now Fulham at home win it to stay up, that's the sort of fixture you'd ask for. They'll definitely have nothing to play for. So in the games left, could they get positive results and still get themselves out of this? Yes, absolutely. I'll be honest though, I don't think they will.
No, me neither. And we talked about Nottingham Forest having 2 of the bottom 2 as their 2 away games between now and the end of the season. Those 2 played each other.
Oh, segue.
Sheffield United 1, Burnley 4. I thought Sheffield United would do a bit better in this, to be honest. Burton Diaz, I close to getting into my starting 11. In the end, I couldn't do it. But I did think Sheffield United would do a bit better because they had been playing a bit better in recent weeks, if not getting the results. Burnley are a couple of points back on Luton, 23 points. We mentioned that they play Forest, but if they beat Forest, then they're level with Forest on points with a ridiculously inferior goal difference. So I don't know, to be honest. The other games...
If Burnley stayed up, that would be remarkable.
Man United, Newcastle, and you lot.
Yeah, I mean,
it'd be a last day
tough.
Of the season kind of heroics type thing if they can scrape it.
It would be great if they could get to the Forest game and find themselves 2 points behind, though. That's all you're begging for if you're a Burnley fan, isn't it?
Yeah.
Get ahead of Luton, but with them fixtures, you can't really see it. No. That said, let me tell you now, do not be surprised if they win at Old Trafford at the weekend. Don't be.
I wouldn't be.
Because there's one team in that fixture that will have a clear strategy and identity of how they want to play the game, and it won't be United. And if United, at the end of a fatigued week of 120 minutes, another game Wednesday and then Saturday, just rock up and think Burnley will be easy meat, they might get a surprise.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. If they can get a draw out of that, if they can scrape 2-3 points between now and the last day of the season, they might just be in with it. But they'll be happy with this result, right? They, as you'd expect. But the XG in this was crazy. 2.43.
Yeah, Sheffield United missed chances here, Suj. If you went Ben Brereton Diaz, you've been really unlucky.
11 shots
really
on target
unlucky.
for,
There's a few
Sheffield
people
United.
went Gustavo Harmer.
Yeah.
Who's obviously at the goal they scored was lovely. James McAtee came back in the team, which is kind of a shame because he would have been a really interesting one, but hadn't played for a few weeks. So people couldn't go down that route. And even, as people asked me about McBurney on my deadline stream, Suj, and I said, have you really hit the depths of life here to be asking about Oliver McBurney? That's what you want to do with your free hit. Get Oliver McBurney in your fantasy team. And that's what I'd said to people. But actually, he should have had returns as well. So actually, if you went with the Sheffield United attacking guys, you've been unlucky, and you may still have some joy because guess who they're playing on Wednesday night? Yeah, that Manchester United, who might not have any centre-backs available other than Harry Maguire. Sheffield United will have chances Wednesday night. It's not over yet. So you've been a little bit unlucky. But defensively, oh my giddy gosh. So they went to a back four, which I kind of feel like Chris Wilder might have wanted to use the first 15 minutes that he had against Arsenal with a back four to think I probably shouldn't do that again. When I say in the past, I've said, if you've got 4 shit defenders, putting a 5th one there doesn't necessarily fix things. Yeah, but with Sheffield United, it helps.
His bodies.
A little bit, it feels like. But I guess they probably played better in the game because they've changed to this system. So, yeah, look, 4-1 on this one actually has come across pretty harsh. And there's some good goals in there from a Burnley perspective. Like Goodmanson scores a cracking goal. Niddy scored another brilliant goal after he'd come on as well. Moving forward on these two teams, you're not going to be looking... If anybody was doubting that Sheffield United would be relegated, there's no doubt about it now, and there's no doubt that they'll finish bottom either. They've now conceded, Suj, I think it's over 2.5 goals per game at home.
Wow.
On average. I'm more likely to captain a Tottenham player in game week 38 than I am in game week 35 or 37.
Let's talk about Wolves 0, Arsenal 2. Predicted a 3-0. I think we all predicted that Arsenal were going to end up winning quite comfortably. And they did. Wolves had a couple of shots here and there, but the amassed XG of all of them was negligible.
Yeah, it was the one chance that João Gomez had, which was a really good save from Raya. Other than that, no.
But both these teams don't have a double in 37, so will largely get overlooked. I think Wolves can be overlooked just because of the issues around personnel, right? They don't have enough players really for me to want to risk any, even on bench boost. Although Aït-Nouri came off.
I won't be overlooking Aït-Nouri necessarily,
bench,
no.
But it's just making sure he's fit.
The problem is, as I said, under my specific scenario, I'm ideally looking for someone for 36 and 38, and their 2 fixtures are Manchester City away and Liverpool away, so that feels pretty useless to me. But if I deem that do you know what, sod this, I'm not going any Tottenham defence or something, and I want to have something at the back this weekend that's got a good fixture 35, and if I decide I'm happy to have someone like that as a singler in 37, sure. I would certainly consider Aït-Nouri. Home to Luton this weekend. Home to Palace maybe in 37. Just because of where he might potentially play, right? He's become a very important player for them. You can see the growth in his own confidence even when he come on at the weekend. Unusually on the right. Very direct to what he was doing. I think he sensed the moment that they're obviously short of players at the moment and took an onus to try and carry the team forward. It's obviously difficult against an opponent like Arsenal. I think Aït-Nouri specifically for me, Suj, could be one that I look at and go, I'm going to have him this week and as a planned transfer out afterwards, I think.
Yeah, not to hold through, I understand.
But I'm kind of reluctant to have planned transfers. I'm almost kind of want to pick a team for the 4 weeks rather than planning what I'm doing, knowing that shit will get wrong / my opinion will just naturally change. So no, I probably will overlook the midfielders. Can't go near. Cunha wouldn't be completely out the running again. If he got some minutes on Wednesday, to think if there was a start Saturday, am I interested in that because of Luton's defensive issues for 1 week maybe? Yeah, sure. But by the way, my bus team at the moment for 37's got either Foden or Haaland on the bench, so that's where I'm at for offensive players this week in terms of my plans, so I can't see it.
Cool. And Arsenal, you did talk about triple defence, although you were talking about benching them in 35 and 37. So benching them all against Tottenham, against United. This North London derby at the weekend is probably
number one reason why I don't want. If I bench like Raya, Gabriel, Saliba this weekend, you know what's happening.
Yeah.
And it's not improbable, is it? They've kept 6 away clean sheets in a row.
Oh, wow. I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty decent. I think this is going to be a horrible North London derby from a Spurs
with that
point of
in
view.
mind,
Win,
guys,
of course,
to go back to the point of, which defensive players should I have? Just go one of Gabriel or Saliba on Wildcard, kids, and have it bench boosted at Man United in 37. Just do it. Just do it rather than, is this Man City going to play twice? And your Arsenal guy, the best defensive team in the league against an absolute shambles of a Manchester United team, will play. And do you know what? As Adam Pritchard said when he came on COTC sort of circa 10 days ago, he said that he thought Manchester United was their most dangerous fixture. I'll remind him of that if this Sunday goes wrong, by the way. But could you see what United have done against Liverpool, right? They could well step up on the day. I get all that, right? But just go an Arsenal player. If you're on Wildcard and you're bench boosting 37, just have one. Just go. I mean, Gabriel, just go with it. Yeah, I think so, personally. I can see most will go without the offensive guys. I would really like to have a Saka or Odegaard. But as kind of said, there's enough offensive guys I want with the doubles that I don't really see at this moment where I'm going to fit that in for, say, 36 and 38 personally at the moment. I don't think... The thing that would maybe change that is if Haaland was ruled out for a little while. And they go, okay, right. And then what? They'll bench Saka against Tottenham at the weekend instead. Again, it's like, I don't really want to do that to myself. I can see the writing on the wall. They started this game pretty slack, which I think is understandable after the week they just have. We have to remember they played Sunday, Wednesday, and then the Saturday. The psychological impacts of what that was going to be on them because of what happened was obviously something that we couldn't understand. And I said to Clates Friday morning that I thought it was a real challenge there because Wolves had been strong in some of the big games this year. That team news just deflated every Wolves fan instantly. They were arguing in our Slack channel how big the score would be once they'd heard the team news, basically. So it's no surprise that it ended up fairly routine for Arsenal. I think the timing of the first goal is obviously important. I can't make my mind up if that's genius from Trossard or a complete fluke with what he's done. But he's done the only thing he could under the circumstance, and it's obviously found top bin. Odegaard over Havertz for me was one, I'll be really honest, I didn't think Havertz would start Saturday night, and that was the main reason for making that choice. And so then, therefore, that's one that's obviously gone in my favour. Even in the aspect that it's Havertz plays Odegaard in, and rather than shooting first time, he tries to square it, and it comes back to him, and then the finish is obvious genius the way he slots it in. And 2-0 gave a reflective scoreline to what we watched. That said, Wolves, you couldn't discredit Wolves for the way they performed. I thought there were a few in there did really well. Boubacar Traore we've seen little of. He faded, but I thought actually was pretty good in the first half. João Gomez is a player that's going to really attract interest. It felt as well, though, Suj, that there was a few they left out, like Sarabia, Mario Lemina, with thinking about, well, we'll beat Bournemouth and we'll beat Luton and we don't fancy ourselves in this one anyway.
Yeah.
It did. Yep. And I understand that. But it was disappointing from the Tottenham perspective, basically.
Let's move to Sunday's games. Everton 2, Forest 0. So Everton giving themselves that kind of breathing room and a kind of comfy home win in the end for them.
Okay, can I just give my opinion on these VAR decisions? I take it, should you have at least seen Nottingham Forest tweet?
No, I didn't see them.
Shut up.
Forest themselves tweeted, did they?
You
I haven't been on Twitter, James, for 2 days.
So this has been viewed by nearly 40 million people.
40?
Yeah, 40.
Okay, what's their Twitter?
Nottingham Forest tweet yesterday at 3:37 p.m. 3 extremely poor decisions, 3 penalties not given, which we simply cannot accept. We warned the PGMOL that the VAR is a Luton fan before the game, but they didn't change him. Our patience has been tested multiple times. Nottingham Forest Football Club will now consider its options.
I can see it now.
I mean, I understand the anger from the fan perspective at the lack of decisions, which I'll talk about in a second. But, yeah, you can't be tweeting shit like that, mate. It's amateurish.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So it's Sunday League stuff.
I think the fandom of the VAR official was irrelevant.
Personal opinion on that?
Yeah.
Marinakis has got into the account and just tweeted it. That's my genuine opinion.
I
certainly people say, oh, the admin's not in the right account. The admin has definitely not put at the end, NFFC will consider its options.
I think
definitely
it's
not.
A statement that's come from higher above and said, you tweet this, please.
Also, it hasn't been deleted, right?
No, it's still there.
Still there. And it's not, Nottingham Forest have made a statement on their website and it's, attached tweet to it. It's just a tweet. It's just a tweet. Yeah, that's not really on. It's insinuating someone's integrity. Now, what I would add to that is, do I think that the PGMOL should have done the smart thing and removed the referee under question? Yeah, because unfortunately now got people using the word corruption this morning, and I've spoken about this several times over. I will not have it. There is none. I'm tired of talking about it. You can call them you can call them shit and incompetent, but then they're not. Referees aren't cheats. I won't have that. I'm not having it.
Did you think the penalty decisions were penalty decisions?
So, yes and no. So the first one, there is definite contact, and what I would say is all 3 could be given, and if all 3 were given, none of them would be overturned. Let's be very clear about that. The first one for me, I think it's Reina gets fouled, isn't it? I'm half describing it. Yeah, James, you said fouled. Okay, there is contact from Ashley Young into the back of him. Reina then plants his foot, then goes down. It's not something we really want to see given for a penalty, I don't think. Like, it's not every contact in the box is a foul, that kind of jazz. But if it had been given, certainly wouldn't have been overturned because they go, yep, contact. So I get it. I get the frustration with that. The second one, the Ashley Young one, has been compared a lot to the Aaron Wan-Bissaka one in the semi-final yesterday. There's 2 big differences to the 2 decisions. One was given by Rob Jones in the FA Cup semi-final, and the one in the Everton Nottingham Forest game was not given by the on-field referee, and neither have been overturned. And VAR, what I would defend is this high bar that we are working towards of, well, unless it's 100%. Here's the thing. 70% of people, this would be would probably say that's a penalty on the Ashley Young handball. But is that enough to overturn the decision? Where do we sit on this? Like on overturning decisions, what's the threshold of percentage of people that need to agree for you to overturn?
Should we actually do that?
What?
Like when a decision is controversial,
vote it.
Yeah, like we have an app.
No, because there's way too many Arsenal fans. There's way too many Arsenal fans on social media.
Only people from United Kingdom and Northern Ireland, because Sky Bet sponsors stuff. So
I mean, I have said loads of times that you could just ask our patrons and you'll come to better decisions.
Yeah.
And I think most of them would have probably said penalty. And again,
no, I get that. I think that whole thing around clear and obvious becomes a real discussion point. Like, was it clear and obvious as a?
What happens is the ball comes over Ashley Young's head, and then he's turning his body. Now you think, if I'm facing Suj, and then I turn my body round, what's going to happen?
Your arm's going to move.
Of course it is. Of course it is. And it's then, as he's turned, it's headed back towards him, and he's as far away as you and I are.
Yeah.
It's just harsh. But at the same time, his arm is out. Okay. So I do get it. And 100%, if it had been given on field, there's no way that they'd have said, no, cancel that. Young also, you can see it written all over his face, panic. He thinks it's a penalty. And I often think that's a little bit of a giveaway. Yeah. The third one on Hudson-Odoi is a penalty all day, every day. And I think that's where you hit the nearly 100% will go, that's a penalty all day. What's also terrible about that one is, and Danny Murphy explained this pretty well on Match of the Day last night as well, and I agreed with it, he said, and I don't often. But they showed that you could see Anthony Taylor's going like, showing the motion that the ball has been played. It definitely doesn't. So I just feel like that's the perfect one where they should go in his ear. Even if VAR doesn't think it's a penalty, it should go, well, we can see, Anthony, that you've insinuated that you've said Ashley Young wins the ball. We can see that he hasn't. Do you want to have another look at it? And don't say to him, it's a penalty or it's not. Say to him, you thought he got the ball. We can see he didn't. Go and look at it.
Yeah.
And if he did, he'd give a penalty. That last one is definitely a penalty. But it's interesting how it flips. So, love Evertonians, but it's been corruption this, corruption that all bloody season long, and 3 decisions went in their favour yesterday. And it's not a corruption against the Premier League today, is it? Now it's Forest fans. And Forest fans might get decisions at the weekend that then mean they get a result against Man City that then favours Arsenal and Liverpool. And Arsenal, who moaned massively about the decision they didn't get at Newcastle, a Liverpool team that were denied a legitimate goal that was scored at Tottenham. Yes, everybody at the top and the bottom of the league has decisions go against them. None of this bias, corruption shit. Yes, Nottingham Forest were very unfortunate, particularly on the last incident yesterday.
Any of these two making it into your wildcard as it stands at the moment?
Forest might.
Despite not having the double.
Might. Chris Wood specifically might. Again, if I'm looking for something 36 and 38, they've got them 2 games against Burnley, Sheffield United. So Chris Wood as an 8th attacker, as bench against City, bench 37, might make it. He might be the one that I give real consideration to. My annoyance with that is Awoniyi is closing in on a return. Elanga you couldn't consider at the moment because, again, he hasn't started yesterday.
Yep.
I thought Reina was largely quite quiet. He's a talented and highly rated player, young American international. I thought it was quite quiet. Gibbs White I like more every time I see him, but I'm not going to consider him for fantasy. Another one I might consider is the goalkeeper. Again, if I want a goalkeeper specifically for 36, 38, I think particularly if I end up going Onana as a double keeper, because with Onana, I don't want him at Palace in 36. There's no way to keep a clean sheet in that. And then I got Brighton away 38. So if I want a different goalkeeper for 36 and 38, he might come into my thinking under that pretense, basically. But it's subject to Porro, as I said. If I go Vicario, then I'm quite happy with Vicario in 38 at Sheffield United. Then I'm just looking for a goalkeeper just for 36, probably. So that would then Forest. Then I'm probably, if it's just Burnley away, then I'm not considering him under that circumstance. Is Sheffield United playing in 36?
Sheffield United in 36, James, are playing. Ooh.
I can't remember.
It'll come to you before it comes to me.
No,
They're playing Forest at home.
Oh, yes, it's Burnley last, isn't it? Mm. So, yeah, maybe sells 36 away to Sheffield United could do. Maybe still consider him. So, yeah, those 2 enabling ones, again, under my circumstance, because I don't have the bench boost left, yes, I would maybe consider. Everton players could be considered as well. I also think, again, which defensive players should I have for a bench boost? Like, Everton have got Sheffield United at home in 37. You want to go Brantford? Go Brantford. You want to go Tarkowski? Go Tarkowski. You want to go Jordan Pickford? Go Jordan Pickford. That will not be Everton's last clean sheet of the season. They changed system a little bit yesterday. Played more of a 4-1-4-1 with Idrissa Gana game much deeper. So we've normally had Doucouré really joining in with Calvert-Lewin. He played a deeper role It's more of a right-sided 8 with Andre Gomez to the left side of that. He struggled, I thought. And Idrissa Gana Gueye deeper. It was quite brave, I thought, to leave out Amadou Onana and James Garner, 2 players I quite like, although Onana's not really lived up to the hype yet, but will probably get a big money move in the summer, actually.
Well, they paid big money for him already, didn't they?
Yeah, well, they need it back, don't they?
That's the thing. But the problem is, I think they put him on big salary. Because we were very close to signing him, and then
someone will take that.
He got gazumped. We're talking 100 grand a week type stuff.
Everton and salaries is a conversation we've done several times over on Patreon. Don't need to do it again now.
True.
But with that shift to system, more the point of that is it should make them a little bit more defensively solid. Now, that said, the reason they kept a clean sheet yesterday was because of bad misses. In the case of particularly Morgan Gibbs-White's chance in the second half. And some excellent goalkeeping. Jordan Pickford's save from Chris Wood is outstanding. Not too sure about the celebrating while the ball was still in play, but he's different, our Jordan. But he was excellent. Every time Everton needed him to come for a cross, he came. Actually, it was really good and dominant. We'd made a couple of saves early in the game. You could see he had that air about him that he knew he was going to have a good day. And I think he's a confidence player as well, isn't he, yep. Jordan Pickford? And when he's up, he really fancies himself. And I thought he was essentially why Everton won the game, really. So I wouldn't get too carried away with it from an Everton perspective. Good result. Think be safe. Always thought that. I've seen 1 or 2 went Dwight McNeil on free hit. Congratulations. It's a really good goal. I didn't see anybody go Idrissa Gana Gueye on free hit. Why would you? It's literally only the accuracy is why that's found the net. So Everton, a defensive player isn't impossible for me. And neither is Sells or Wood might work for me. Forest for others isn't going to work, I don't think. Everton defensive should still be considered irrespective of strategy, I think.
Villa 3, Bournemouth 1. A good win for Villa, considering, obviously, 120 minutes and penalties.
Yeah.
And the emotions of going through to the semis, which they'll think they can win
including the staggering emotions of thinking that their goalkeeper was probably sent off momentarily in a penalty shootout.
So I didn't know that was a rule.
I didn't either. No, I think a lot of people didn't.
Count. That's a very bizarre rule.
And your commentator was at pains to mention it during Man United and Coventry yesterday, wasn't he?
Just in case.
Like he always knew the rule. And I was like, you've only just learnt this as well,
2 days ago. But good win for them. And look, Bailey, I mean, you owned him for large chunks of the season. He's now up to 10 goals, 11 assists, 21 attacking returns. Can we also
just say, I did sell him for a Boomo in 33, so he wouldn't have been still in my team either.
No. But because he's been in and out and injured, he's kind of under the radar, crept along. But 21 attacking returns over the season is excellent. Yeah, it's really good, and he's been at a good price as well. Diaby chipped in with a goal as well. Ollie Watkins 2 assists. They're going to be super happy. They put a little bit of room between yourselves and them now in the league.
Oh, they've done. That's done. Honestly, I've been saying that all week. If they won yesterday, that was finished. Suj. I think they probably need
6 games to go, mate.
Yeah, but we've got 6 games to go. We've got to play the top 3, and we've got to play the Chelsea where we've won once in like 35 years.
Okay. Yeah, I get
that. So if we beat Burnley and Sheffield United, we go level with Villa with an inferior goal difference. Then we have 1 game in hand, but those are the 4 games we have left. Villa probably need, I think, a maximum of 4 points, so a point per game with what's left.
Yeah, they've got Chelsea, Brighton, Liverpool, Palace. They've got 4 points in that, I think.
With how they've been, and they deserve it, by the way, where's the expectation that they wouldn't be able to get 1 point per game across 4 fixtures?
I think they definitely can.
Absolutely, yeah. I think there's every chance to beat Chelsea at the weekend as well. So, no, I think that's done for Fulham, and I think they deserve it. They've been excellent this year throughout the whole season. I think many of us couldn't envisage that last summer, but they had been. I think from when Emery took over, they'd been fourth, hadn't they, in the table from when he took over for that period at the end of last season. And so then to maintain that consistency, where they've performed like the 4th best team in the league, not just over this season, Suj, but actually over 18 months now. Yep. Full credit to them, and they've done it while doing this Thursday-Sunday gig as well. So full credit to them. They deserve it if assuming they do it from here onwards. And if they don't, for whatever reason, they've still had a brilliant season. And I think, they'll have every chance they'll win that Conference League as well. Because I think they've probably covered the hardest hurdle, which was which was the quarter-final, actually, there's no real consideration for them, that said, with what's left, because although you'd certainly expect a minimum of a point per game, it is a tough run of fixtures. But if anybody's still on Ollie Watkins, they're not going to want to sell it.
No.
And that's completely understandable, because he's been outstanding. And his link play on them 2 goals in the second half yesterday is phenomenal. Phenomenal. I don't suppose we have any young kids watching this, Suj, but if we did, I would say, if you're a forward and you want to learn how to play back to goal, I'll tell you what, go and watch Ollie Watkins on them 2 goals. It's absolutely brilliant the way he sucks in, holds off, boom, spins, gone, and then got the awareness at the end, particularly on Diaby's goal. Absolutely brilliant. One of the players of the year, without question, and there's plenty who think he will be the player of the year, and you couldn't particularly argue with it if he won it. It would be nice if someone from a club like Villa won it. I think he's been absolutely brilliant. And it almost feels like a long time ago that he played a game for England and Tony played a game for England, and everyone went, well, Tony was better. It feels like a long time ago already. So you definitely want to take Watkins on that plane, I think. And he on the season he's had, he's got to, really. I think, even though Tony would maybe be a better suit for it.
Agreed.
This guy is improving his all-round game massively. He's gone from a player who, think back to the COVID season. I remember a game he had where, I want to say he got a hat-trick of assists. He should have got about 4 or 5 as well. And he was a lot like that. It was like you'd missed the big moments. He's become a good finisher. His link and his hold-up play has improved dramatically.
And he's surrounded by better players now as well. You've got
of course, that's helpful.
That definitely.
And also the manager has simplified a lot for him as well. I think it's become quite helpful. Whereas because they have more of the ball, in years gone by, he used to do a lot of really good running into channels and stuff. Yep. So he'd run into channels, then he's laying it back off to people.
Sometimes
he's doing so much more of his work
before Ings moved and stuff, and now he always is a focal point.
He's doing so much more of his work in central areas, which is really helpful to him as well.
Cool.
So yeah, brilliant. He's the only one that would be under consideration. I wouldn't consider a defensive one at this moment or anything like that. Bournemouth, it's probably a no from here with what's left fixtures wise. Again, Dominic Solanke, for similar reasons, also had an absolutely brilliant season. Milos Kerkez was the interesting one. He did win the penalty, and he did play left wing, and we discussed this as a possibility on Clash of Correspondence last week, because that's where he ended up against Manchester United the weekend before. I'll be really honest, despite the fact I'd said that I thought it might happen, I thought it was just as likely that he didn't start. So those who went there, congrats, because there's every chance you'll get it again in the better fixture on Wednesday night. And those who've gone for alternative Bournemouth, like Neto, or have been carrying through, I think realistically, you didn't have high hopes for Villa yesterday. It's more about now this depleted Wolves. That was another reason for me on Neto, was like, oh, shit, they're depleted now. Admittedly, I'll probably get a stronger team than what Arsenal got, I should imagine, on Wednesday. But that was part of it as well, was thinking, okay, that Wolves fixture looks a lot better now. There was no expectation on Bournemouth assets, particularly, to get anything yesterday. And the fact Solanke's return is good for the 80-odd% EO that own him.
Crystal Palace 5, West Ham 2. Achievement unlocked for West Ham, James.
Oh, yeah. 1
shot on target, 2 goals. Boom, boom. Who else did that this weekend? Scored more goals and shots on target, mate.
I don't know, actually. Is there anyone?
I don't think so.
Probably not. Well done.
Crystal Palace, on the other hand, 7 shots on target, 5 goals. So they've done well to convert as many as they have. But the speed with which they attack the game, I think, is clearly the strategy is, look, these will be tired from Thursday night if we hit it hard and fast. I don't know if there is a more Jekyll and Hyde side this season than West Ham.
You got league table in front of you.
I can put a league table in front of me.
I want to say Palace have won 9 games.
All season?
I think so. That sounds about right. 9 wins and about 8 draws, something like that.
Detailed view, the full view. Here we go.
You only need wins.
9 wins, 9 draws.
Yeah. So they've had 5 games where Eze, Olise and Mateta have all played together and have won 4.
Wow. Yeah.
That's it, 5 games.
Unbelievable.
Mateta is like a changed man under Oliver Glasner. We've been speaking about it for a couple of weeks, saying start treating this seriously. You only had to look at the big moments he had against City and Liverpool, I think, to know that there could be something there. And I think you can get a stigma around players. Yep. Like he would have been someone, if you said to me in game week 20, when you get to game week 34, you're going to be picking Mateta on your free hit. I mean, I would have laughed that out the room in the same way I was laughing about the McBurney suggestion, right? Mateta was never a doubt in my mind. It was clear as day that him and Eze were always going to go in for me. I talked myself into not going for Michael Olise, basically. So he's doing well in the big moments. He's on a great run. If you wanted to carry something like that till the end of the season, I've spoken about Wood's fixtures in 36 and 38. Palace is a Manchester United at home and Villa at home, and it's not bad. So it's just the Man United game mainly, isn't it?
Yeah, to be fair. I don't like the Villa game.
Will Mateta not have chances against Manchester United in 36?
100% you will.
Here's a question for you. Would you, in game week 36, would you play Mateta against Manchester United, or would you play Sonny at Liverpool?
Mateta at Manchester United.
Yeah, same. So he'll be a consideration for me.
Mateta at Manchester United all day.
And again, I think it's one that I've got to look at these things under my circumstance. What can I do differently? And it might be something like that. Now, I don't think I'll go there because personally, I don't see me right at this minute not going Haaland, Jackson, Isak as the front three. It seems pretty straightforward to me, actually. But I may consider him, like I may consider Chris Wood potentially, but I might need Haaland to be a doubt to end up. I could end up wildcarding here, so you have about 10 million in the bank. I think it's not impossible. I'm not just suddenly going to go, oh, bollocks, I'll go Salah. I can't see me doing it, actually. So if Haaland's out, I just think I'm going to have loads of money in the bank. And I wouldn't be like, well, I'll go Watkins then because I can. Actually, no, I'd maybe just want to go Mateta and have him in there for Manchester United in game week 36. I could see that.
Yep.
So he's the only one I'd be considering. That wouldn't make me consider a Palace defensive player, by the way. No, not at all. Good performance.
You wouldn't consider anyone from West Ham at all?
No chance.
Not even there's not a single player. This is a statement, not a question, James.
No.
There's not a single player you can consider.
The only thing I would add about West Ham is for the crowd that are free hitting in 37, and there will be some, consider Bowen.
Well, if he's back.
If he's back.
Because obviously he hasn't started. He clearly was pushed into Thursday night and then couldn't make it for this.
That's the one where if you land 37 and you're suddenly there and you're like, I don't know which offensive players, and I think there will be enough offensive players in seriousness, but if you suddenly land there and you think, oh, I want a free hit and a single game week player, right? This is it. No one's going to have Bowen, Kudos. No one. They're at home to Luton. Mm-hmm. That would be the one, actually, almost best of the lot. Not a defensive, by the way, guys, but an offensive one. That would be the one. You'd go, right, Bowen, Kudos on free hit. Why not? Rather, where's Brennan Johnson going to play twice? Or why wouldn't you consider it under that circumstance? I don't think it'd be one for me, personally.
No.
Palace, just to cover him off, obviously the Henderson own goal, wow. That's most people know I'm not a big fan of him, and I think that might pull Palace backwards going into next season, maybe. I hope for them they can hold on to these players. There is a suggestion that some of the guys like Olise and Eze may have release clauses that might be fairly reasonable to potentially activate. I don't know if that's true or not, but it has been suggested in some circles. Hopefully for them, if they kept them together and could keep them fit, they'll finish top half next year, Suj. So the way they play now, they've got a proper manager who will give them offensive and defensive structure. They would do really well, I think, if they stayed there. Not to the extent, they'll qualify for Europe, and it's half the battle with Eze and Olise keeping them fit. But Eze is such a joy. I was thinking about this last night. Like, Messi for me is the best player I've ever seen, but the player that made me smile the most was Ronaldinho. Because Ronaldinho used to do joke things with the ball. And Eze, careful, I'm not comparing him necessarily to Ronaldinho, but Eze also brings you that same joy, I think. I can't think of a player from a neutral perspective that makes you smile more when you watch him.
Ooh, that's a question.
In the Premier League now. Genuinely makes you smile with everything that he does, his elegance, his grace, the way he can go from like slow to fast in like an instant.
Yeah, because he's joyful in his football.
Yes.
See, like, I was thinking about like a Paqueta that plays for us. but he is annoying as well because he rolls around and he does all the.
He gets loads of yellows and stuff like that.
Shit. Whereas Eze, you've got just it's
just pure joy, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's just pure joy.
For sure.
Yeah.
We'll go into West Ham a little bit more and Tottenham on Wednesday for the patrons as well, just to talk about what will happen between now and the end of the season with Moyes and how it's going to peter out. But there's been such a Jekyll and Hyde season. Where
he looked devastated yesterday, during the game and after it.
Well, he's got to take some blame and responsibility for it.
Listen, the going to Palace players had nothing to do, for me, I was going there anyway, with how tired you looked Thursday night. But I described, like, at one point, Thomas Souček looked like he was walking down an elevator trying to go and make a tackle on Thursday. They were out on their feet, and because they played so well, it should be said, in the first half, right? You forced Bayer Leverkusen into a substitution half hour into the game, right? Yep. Because you had them worried. But you had nothing left because so much went into it off the ball. I mean, you're a team, you always say, like, you don't want the ball and you're quite standoffish. You like to absorb, defend the penalty area, draw teams onto you, and then you can break high. You went and pressed them hard, really hard on Thursday night.
We did that in the second leg against... in the quarters, the German team that we played Freiburg.
Last 16.
Only played them 4 times. And when we played them at home, we were very aggressive from the get-go as well. And we rushed into a lead.
Like 5-0, didn't you?
Smashed it in the end. But again, it was front foot pressing style. I think West Ham are going to kind of coast through the rest of the season. I don't know whether I would go as far as to say you could target them, because they can turn up on any day and give anyone a really difficult game. Like, we've got a whole week's rest and preparation for Liverpool. We could be really obtuse and stubborn against Liverpool at the weekend. Wouldn't surprise us if we locked in with a bank of 4 and a bank of 5 and they make it very difficult for them. At the same time, we could go and ship 5 like we have in so many times this season.
Yeah, and there might also be, we don't know, but there might be a knowledge behind the scenes that something might be changing.
There's got to be something changing.
You think he's got to go, do you, Moyes?
I think he's going to go, and he's got to go as well. And it's not from a place of frustration and annoyance. I think it's just time is run. And I think Paqueta's deal at City is already signed, so they say. His personal terms and what have you are done. He's going to end up down in tools. I heard he was pathetic against Palace at the weekend. He hadn't played on Thursday, as was Emerson, who hadn't played on Thursday. So I think there is a bit of a change in. I do think another manager coming in with that squad that we've got can outperform what we've done this season. The way I would describe it, and I'd like to talk about it more in detail when we go into Tottenham, is there are lots of games this season that we have lost rather than being beaten in. Like, if we go toe-to-toe with the team, they're the better team on the day and they beat us, no problem. But when you just roll over and you just lose by giving the game away, that's awful. And we've done that far too many times this season. And the team that we do play at the weekend is Liverpool, who, despite a number of changes, have gone and beaten Fulham 3-1. No Salah, no Nunez.
Yeah, just to add, obviously, that Palace is not a one-off. I think that's the point you're saying. Like the Fulham, we mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, well, it's happened too many times.
6-0 against Arsenal.
We conceded 4 against Newcastle. In the Carabao Cup quarters, we got beaten 5 away at Liverpool already. Yeah. There's been too many times. But even there's some simple games at home, like we lost 1-0 to Everton earlier in the season and stuff.
That 5-0 at Fulham also came a few days after you'd won at our place. Yeah. No, it was at our place, wasn't it? Yeah. But it was another big physical effort, wasn't it?
And we was great against you. This is such Jekyll and Hyde. And I think if we can get a manager that can get some consistency, we'll do particularly well. But with West Ham, it's really...
I even know who I think is the best choice for you as well, by the way.
Graham Potter.
I'll give you a clue. You've still got to play him this season. Right, moving on before I upset some people.
Liverpool 3... at Fulham.
It's not Jurgen Klopp, for anyone wondering.
I think he wants to go back to Germany, James. They've kept themselves in the title race. Not that they were out of it anyway, but obviously off the back of a couple of difficult results and going out of the Europa League, you did worry for Liverpool a little bit of whether or not they'd lost a bit of momentum. He rings the changes and they've ended up coming from 1-1 to win 3-1 in the end.
Yeah, they've ended up winning this very comfortably, and apologies, you're not going to get any mass kind of tactical breakdown on this because I watched the first half hour or so, having watched the first half of the FA Cup semi-final and decided at half-time that Manchester United were very comfortable, and that was enough for me at 2-0. Once Conventry had made it 3-2, that was like, yeah, who gives a shit about fantasy or Fulham against Liverpool? Let's get this back on because it could be a riot, and it was. They started with a lot of control, Liverpool. I think there was possibly a little bit of fear because of some of Fulham's really good home performances this year, one of which I saw firsthand recently in Gameweek 29 against Tottenham. That if Liverpool didn't show up with the right mental and physical capacity, they would potentially be in trouble. And that's the number one reason why he's changed his team massively. He made sure that team had energy and players who were ready to go and primarily do the business off the ball more than on the ball from what I watched of the game yesterday. And there was a real intent purpose. I felt watching the game, Suj, I used to say this about Pochettino as manager of Tottenham. Pochettino used to say he could tell after 50 seconds whether Tottenham would win or not when he was manager of us. This was one of them occasions, kind of a minute or two into the game, I was like, Liverpool ain't going to have a problem, yeah. Just had that vibe quite early on. And when I saw at half-time that it was level, I was quite surprised. But they've ended up winning that fairly routinely in the end. 3-1, pretty much a fair reflection. The guys who didn't play yesterday, your Salahs, your Nunez's, Konate's, if anyone went down that route, McAllister, Szoboszlai, you can expect them all to play at Everton on Wednesday. I know there's a little bit of a theory going around that Darwin Núñez won't, i.e. he doesn't deserve to. But also consider, you know, what comes afterwards again. So we've spoken about West Ham. Liverpool go there at 12:30 on Saturday.
Yep.
So there's a danger. You know, if Núñez didn't start Wednesday night, you'd go, well, he's a certainty to play at West Ham on Saturday. He's not suddenly turned into the worst forward of all time. There's a chance that anyone who does start, I would suggest on Wednesday night, might not Saturday lunchtime. I've even been saying going into the double that I didn't even think Van Dijk was a shoo-in to play twice. Now, I think because of the physical aspect as well of Everton and West Ham from set plays, I would be surprised at this juncture if Van Dijk didn't play. If there was going to be one he missed out, I think it was probably going to be yesterday, actually. But yeah, there'll be more rotation. The problem for Darwin is we've so often called him Mr. Chaos, and we like him. We like him because he's willing, he's a good runner. It's the missing of the big chances what's let him down. The problem is, I can't remember the last time he had one, or that I've seen him have one. I'm sure he has.
Yeah.
But you've always had that vibe with him of, well, he's just missing the chances. It'll come. How many times we said, he'll have a day where he gets 4 or 5 one day. You don't feel like that at the moment.
No.
And it's not to be critical of him yesterday because he's barely played, right? And also it's been well documented. Mo hasn't been in massive form. I didn't have enough confidence in putting the armband on Saka, Eze, or an alternative to go against, for me, an expected minutes for Mo Salah of around about 120 in the double. Even though I knew there was other guys there were going to be higher, I still felt on that. You say, well, Mo Salah, 120 minutes in a normal game week. Yeah, that's all right. I'd still take that over the majority. Not playing well, but don't be surprised if he does well at Goodison on Wednesday night, I'd say. I think for Wildcarders, just so many good midfielders you can have off this double. So many. You know, Palmer's a shoo-in, isn't he, right? Most people are going to go for Son, right? Despite what's said about Manchester United, Bruno Fernandes. Yep. For me, there's no way I'm not going Anthony Gordon.
Oh, yeah, 100% easy in for me.
Definitely going in. And so then it's one more. And then, Foden.
Unless you want to add another doubler out of Chelsea and Spurs, so maybe Maddo.
Or Brendan Johnson under consideration. Yeah.
This title race is interesting because last week where Arsenal and Liverpool both lost, came off the back of City playing on the Saturday and amassing a bit of what you call scoreboard pressure, right? They went to the top and suddenly you're looking at it. It's reversed now where, okay, they've got games in hand, but Arsenal and Liverpool could be 4 points ahead by the time City play on Thursday. And then, even a win doesn't get you back on top. So it's reversed itself now a little bit. I think this who's top and adding the pressure of now, if you don't win, you could fall further behind, is going to have quite a bit of impact over the next few weeks with the doubles. And when City finally get round to playing their game in hand, it's not going to be till 37 now. So
we've spoken a little bit about the other semi-finals, so we should probably should touch on it.
And so we should also note all three of these out of Europe as well. Yes. All of us, Villa flying the flag now. Come on, Villa. Mad. Everyone out of Europe.
Fuck the coefficient, honestly.
Everyone out of Europe last week was mental.
And it most impacts my team, by the way. Sod all that. If this team wins this and this team wins... Sod that rubbish. Like, look after your own performances, kids. I did watch all of the other semi-finals Saturday. It wasn't a great watch. Chelsea were the better team.
Penalty? I think it's a penalty. Grealish's arm off the free kick. It was out. His arm's too far away from his body for me. Just saying.
Again, like, does everybody 100% agree with that? And there'll be one person listening to this. What I do, I make 100%. Well, that's cool. Like, but I think there's enough debate there that I'm not sure. Again, if it's given on the field, it's not going to get overturned. But a lot of this upset. But can I just say, can we please stop comparing incidents where a referee gives something and a referee doesn't give something, right? You can't compare those two incidents under them circumstances. This is another one more like the Ashley Young one where it's not given on the pitch. If it's given on the pitch, is it going to get given? Yeah. I think, it probably is more often than not. Do I want the game decided by that moment? No, not really. I've said this opinion before. I think incidents like that just have another free kick.
Yep.
Rather than the penalty is too harsh on the punishment actually when it's that far from goal. Anyway, that's a different pod that I've covered previously. City were not good. Now you have to give them some mitigating, right? Because they're knackered from Wednesday night, right? I mean, how they didn't beat Real, and I watched all the game against Real Madrid as well. How they didn't go through, just dominated. Real Madrid defended the penalty area really well, and I said this to Clates on Friday. It was a lot like the Arsenal game, but imagine that again, but with Man City playing at a really high tempo. And Madrid had to work hard in the penalty box, whereas Arsenal positionally did, but weren't like clearing crosses coming in left, right, and centre. Arsenal were comfortable, right? Madrid weren't. They had to work hard for that. Even when City were losing with 15 minutes ago, I thought they're still going to get these.
Yep.
Didn't have, and they run out of legs a little bit of extra time. So you certainly give them mitigating for Saturday that they were tired. And I thought he was going to mass rotate the team, and he didn't, which also means he can't sit there and properly moan about the schedule afterwards because it's not like he doesn't have good players sitting on the bench that he could have used, who actually, a little bit as per Jurgen Klopp's team yesterday, might have benefited from being a bit fresher and having more energetic legs in there who hadn't played so many minutes on Wednesday night. He obviously felt, I think, from probably drawing the two games with Chelsea earlier this season, where Chelsea were unfortunate in both of them as well, that he couldn't take the chance. Brighton will be a challenge Thursday. The problem with them is they're even more Jekyll and Hyde than usual. I think we reflect on the performance against Arsenal and go, that's not really the Brighton we know. They played quite well against Liverpool, for example, but Liverpool could have got 4 or 5 on a different day. Liverpool had plenty of chances. And they've not been quite right for a while, but I've said this earlier last week. Roberto De Zerbi having 12 days to prepare for Manchester City might do something really interesting. And so that game Thursday could be a real challenge. It might be City going stroll to win. It might be one that De Zerbi does something and it becomes a real problem, possibly. And I think it will probably be City's toughest game left.
Interesting. Cool. We'll be back on Friday to review all of those games as well. So we'll see where we end up on our free hits once we finally get through the rest of these fixtures. Well, there's 7 more? 7 more? 8 more? How many are there more?
6 more.
6 more fixtures still to play.
6 more.
We're going to do a few of the questions that we've had in on the internet, James. What are we smashing out for content this week for people? Just so you know what you got to look forward to, set your alarm clocks for and all that.
So Suj said we'll do another review Friday. 2 big clash of correspondence this week. So Brighton Man City tomorrow with Sam Murray and Johnny Pringle, obviously ahead of the game Thursday, but I know a lot of people want their assets for 35. Brighton is the one that keeps getting forgotten, by the way. Again, looking for double game week. Well, which doubler is going to play twice? Go Lewis Dunk. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Thursday, Chelsea versus Tottenham with Gary Mantle, Ricky Saunders. We'll be doing the Sky Pod Wednesday. Patreon content this week is Q&A today. Tomorrow I'm hosting a last man standing quiz with some of our patrons, a new idea concept. Patrons will tell me if they like it or not. Wednesday's Tottenham, as you alluded to a few times. There's no room in our public schedule for Ask James this week, so that'll be available on Thursday from Basic Plus tier as well, and we'll have our Gameweek 35 preview podcast on Friday as well. If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/planetfpl. Please keep me in a job, thank you.
Yes, indeed, please do. It keeps the lights on and all of that.
Especially as he's leaving the country.
Yeah.
So
I don't sign the paychecks anyway.
Don't forget me, boss.
About it. 100% won't. I'll just tan.
All right,
slowly.
keep Nico in a job then.
Yeah.
Sign up to Patreon.
Cool. Let's get to some of the questions that we've had in on Twitter as well. A mixture, quite a lot of VAR stuff that we will ignore. Didande, I mean, you mentioned manager changes.
What?
Didande has asked a question.
Oh, okay.
You mentioned that the manager that will be suited to West Ham.
Did you
still
work
got
out?
to play? Yeah, Pep, obviously. Okay.
Maurizio Pochettino.
I think he'll stay at Chelsea, though.
He's tragic, you know.
He'll stay at Chelsea. I thought you were going to allude to Rob Edwards.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
Do you think this is not Didande's question? His question was, would Mourinho do a job at Liverpool? I think, and he's put a smiley face. I think he's laughing. Do you think that Pep could do what Alonso has done at Leverkusen? Take a team that are second from bottom, take them to win the title, and be unbeaten through 45 games through a season in the semis of the European, finals of the actual domestic cup. Because he's managed Barca, Bayern Munich, and Man City. The three teams that are expected to win their respective leagues and have far superior financial budgets. Do you think he could take over? Okay, second from, let's say, if Pep took over Everton, could he get them to win the league the season after?
No, of course not.
All right, an underperforming team. If Pep took over Chelsea...
You've got to give that longer.
Okay, well, Alonso didn't have longer, but I know...
Also,
Leverkusen
in Germany, with respect, I know of English clubs, is the Premier League not good anymore because our clubs did shit in Europe? Trust me, a lot of them will do really well next year because that's how it tends to work.
Pep took over Chelsea. Chelsea have the squad, if not the league position, the bottom half of the table.
Well, Antonio Conte took Chelsea from 10th to 1st, so you can't say that it couldn't happen.
Did you think he could?
You're also saying, in Xabi Alonso's case, you're also saying, could someone else do something that no one else has done? Legitimately. Yeah. If he wins the German Cup and Europa League and finishes unbeaten in the Bundesliga this year with potentially record points total as well, like no one's done that. So, Guardiola managed Bayern Munich. Guardiola didn't achieve those feats while he was with Bayern Munich. So it's really harsh to compare Alonso to anybody based on what he's done this season. Yeah. Pep Guardiola would take over any football club and make them better, almost guaranteed, bar the select few that already have great managers. So Pep, for example, let me put it a different way. Klopp's obviously been amazing at Liverpool. If Pep went to Liverpool, sorry to make a lot of people cry here, would it definitely make Liverpool better? No. You might go one step backwards to then come again in a few years. But if Pep managed Everton, would Everton be better? Ask any Evertonian what they think of that. I think they'd all go, yeah, comfortably. Yeah,
and it might be being better and winning the league.
Yeah, but you need a different amount of time. You can't say, next year. The Everton, financial restrictions, moving into a new stadium, etc. If you said to Pep, right, take over Everton, could you win that title in maybe 10 years?
Leverkusen didn't go and spend shitloads of money.
It's different. You're trying to overhaul one team realistically in Bayern Munich, whereas in this league, you need to overhaul really 6 or 7. It's not just before you start thinking, I need to overhaul City, Liverpool, Arsenal. Yeah, sure, you got to overhaul United, Newcastle, Tottenham, Chelsea, Villa first, right?
Yep.
It's not as easy, right? So there's less consistency in the Bundesliga, bar Bayern and a little bit of Dortmund. But Dortmund are, 5th in the Bundesliga, I think, at the moment. Although came as close as anybody beating Leverkusen yesterday. 97th minute equaliser for Leverkusen yesterday. So the record nearly went.
They're jokers with their last minute goals.
Good luck to them. Surely as a neutral, you're thinking, I hope they do it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Erland Svilland, we've talked about fixtures next season, and the FA Cup stuff is on the agenda to talk about at some point soon. Do you expect the chips to change next season, considering less expected blanks and doubles with these replays and stuff?
I think
Probably not.
I think I said on my stream on Friday, I'm probably unemployed now from a strategy perspective. Yes, there will be less blanks and doubles. I think it's pretty clear. You're probably looking, bar unforeseen circumstances of whether monarchy passing, global world event or something like that, you're looking at really a maximum of 6 games being postponed next season. 2 for the League Cup final and 4 for the FA Cup semi-finals. That's it.
Nice.
And even those won't guarantee double game weeks, because I think, having looked at it, that I think the midweek after the FA Cup semi-finals is going to get left free. So it might still even just be a longer single game week. Sad though, isn't it? I think the only thing I would say is that there's pros and cons to it. There's the double game weeks are exciting, right? I could see across my timeline on Friday because I'm really excited. I'm on free hit. Going into double, you know what the ceiling can be and stuff, right? But we're also all aiming towards a similar pool of players, right? And it's going to be the same now for Wildcarders. Wildcarders are letting a bench boost, are picking from probably a max of 30 players or so, basically, from 6 teams. It's a bit shit, really.
Yep.
Now, if you haven't got the doubles and stuff like that, more variety in terms of which players people are looking at. And also, if you haven't got the doubles and blanks aren't the same and stuff, more variety in strategy. In terms of when people are playing wildcard, what are you going to do with bench boost? People are already talking about, James is a trendsetter. Let's all bench boost in game week 1. Like I was the first person ever to do it. No, I absolutely wasn't. But game week 1 bench boost might become something that people think about. When would you free hit if there was no blanks or no doubles and stuff like that? You'd think about things differently, wouldn't you?
Yep. Cool. And that's the questions we've had in. We've had a few others, but generally there's a bit for VAR and some wildcard chat that we'll pick up on Friday. Other than that, subscribe to the show wherever you're listening. Leave us a review. Do whatever makes you happy. Stay safe. Look after yourselves. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Be nice to each other. Play it your way. Cue music, please. Man child.